You can, go to the Eiffel Tower and see that it's just a piece of metal. Most French people are rude and arrogant. France was the country where I felt most free. French people love word impossible. If a typical French person for you is the one wearing red beret and holding baguette, well, most probably you need to watch this video till the very end, because I'm going to discuss some of the most popular stereotypes about France and sharing my personal opinion on them, whether they are true or false, after living in France for several months. So let's get started. First stereotypes that I hear a lot is that French people are fashionable and chic, and I would say that in such a city as Paris, well, obviously people are more fashionable and more chic, but maybe not in a way how people picture it, that everyone is wearing, those expensive brands, etc. Some of them do, obviously, but I should say that the better way to describe French people is elegant, not like fashionable and chic, but elegant. I think that's a good word. And what I actually loved about French people is that even elderly people, they really take care about how they look, and they wear really like cool clothes. In Paris, yeah, everyone is more fashionable and elegant, but even in other cities, for example, I lived in Normandy, in Cannes, people wore cool clothes. It's full of inspiration. If you're interested in fashion, I think it's cool to look around and to get inspired. And I also should say that people in France, they love vintage clothing, and there are really lots of secondhand and vintage shops, which is, I think, amazing, because I spend lots of time there shopping and just enjoying my time. So I should say that this stereotype is partly true, but not in the form that most people imagine. And the second one, of course, romantic atmosphere, because thanks to movies about France, about Paris mostly, of course this city is full of romance. But in real life, I think it depends on your perspective, because of course you can come to Paris and you can go to the Eiffel Tower and see that it's just a piece of metal. But if you add some imagination, and if you choose to pay attention to some positive things and maybe some romantic things, so of course the city would have this romantic atmosphere for you. But if you come with this attitude that, oh my god, this is just a foolish stereotype, well, obviously this city will not be romantic for you. So I hope you know what I want to say. But thanks to the movies that we watched, pictures we saw, most probably there is a higher possibility that you will feel this romantic atmosphere in Paris, because of those small cafes, like couples on the streets, and the Eiffel Tower, like with flowers, I don't know, bottle of wine, etc. Well, it's true. So yeah, so this stereotype is partly true, but again, really depends on your perspective and your attitude. The next stereotype is the following, that most French people are rude and arrogant. And I heard so many stories from people that I know that they, when visiting France, they really met many rude people, or people who didn't really want to, for example, do their job for them, etc. And here, I should say it's again 50-50. Well, yeah, we start with some controversial stereotypes here. So it's 50-50 because for me, I actually haven't met a single person who would be rude to me in France, and that would be a French person. And I think it mainly depends on the language that you're speaking. And I heard those stories from people who didn't speak French and they were visiting France as tourists. And in my case, I was a student and I spoke some French, and in most of the time people were super friendly and they were ready to help me. And I have such a story that in the city where I lived, it's Cannes in Normandy, as I said before already, I bought Martens, like the shoes, the boots, and I needed that spray to make them loose. And I just went to a random shoe store, and there was this lady, and I just translated this shoe spray word in Google Translate because I had no idea how to say it in French, and apparently it was the incorrect word, but she understood what I needed, but she didn't have it in her store. And she was like, okay, I have this friend, she works in a different store, I can call her and ask if they have the spray. And she called her, she asked whether they had the spray, and they did. And she was like, okay, there is this girl, she's coming to your store now. And then she was trying to explain like how to get to that store. I mean, that was super sweet because it was just my first weeks in France and I literally knew nobody, and it was so kind from her to just help me like this. And I was like, oh my god, that's so sweet. Love French people. And another thing that I love about them is their politeness, because if you go, I don't know, to the grocery store, or I don't know, to the bakery, I think that's the best place on earth in France, like to find a small bakery near your home. And if you go there, the people will be like, I mean, the most friendly ever. And at the end of your conversation, they always wish you a good day and all the kind words they could wish. And it really cheers you up, especially when you're a foreigner, when you're an immigrant. It just makes you feel more home, you know, and less of this homesickness. And I loved it a lot about French culture. And when I got back to Latvia after France, it was so unusual for me because I got used to the fact that I always say like, thank you, have a nice day, goodbye, blah blah blah. And in Latvia people are less open, and it's not common, you know, to wish a good day and to say thank you so many times and goodbye in different forms. So I needed some time to get used to this form of communication again. I think that this stereotype can be partly true about arrogance and rudeness if you speak English and if you don't speak French, because yeah, there are still some people in France that don't want to speak English even if they can, and they prefer speaking only French. So it's a cultural, historical thing, and you just need to accept it, I guess. The next stereotype is also very interesting, and like figuring out whether it's true or false, it gives you some some glance on French culture and French mentality. So it's about French people being lazy. And when I heard the stereotype, I was a bit surprised, but then when I got, deeper into it, I realized that people usually compare French people, like in this stereotype, they usually compare French people to American, because Americans, well, usually, mostly, they live to work, but French people work to live. It means that they really appreciate their free time and that they are not going, to die at work. They are not very ready to overwork just to, to reach a higher position. Well, of course, it's not about all French people, and I'm sure there are some that really want to work hard and work a lot in order to reach this or that position, but mostly French people really appreciate and value their free time, and they are not ready to overwork. And about laziness, it can be the thing that French people do not really want to do something that requires more effort. And I also have an interesting example here. It's before I went to study in France. I had to book a dormitory room so that I have a place to live. And the thing is that if you've ever been interested in studies in France, you know that usually places in dormitory, it's like not enough for all the students, but as my university website said the international students are priority, which I'm not sure is true. And when I reached out to the university asking about dormitory rooms, they said that, well, they do not have any free rooms left. And the only options I had is to live with French family, but it was quite expensive and I couldn't afford it because my scholarship wasn't enough. And I just said to them that, well, guys, I'm not coming if I don't have dormitory room. And as soon as they get this email, they say, okay, fine, there is a room. So you see that it was just, extra effort for them to find, one more room, or I don't know, they needed to do something else to find that room. But as soon as you answer them like this, that, well, it's not working for me if there is no room, well, they will do their job. So you need to keep it in mind, because French people love word impossible. So if you hear the word impossible, try again, because most probably it's possible. The next stereotype is my favorite. Is about the revolutionary spirit of French people, and I think it's amazing because it's absolutely true. I heard about it, of course, before going to France, and when I came to France, I ran into several manifestations randomly. Once I was just walking in the city center where I lived, and there was this manifestation about environment. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And when I first came to Paris, we were just walking with friends again in the city center, and there was this manifestation, like feminist manifestation, as far as I could understand. And what I loved about it is that police was not, beaten anyone, because it might sound weird to you, but in my country, if you go outside in the streets trying to manifest or anything, you will be beaten by police, arrested, etc. And people in my country do not have lots of rights, unfortunately. And seeing that freedom, I was like, oh my God, you can just go outside and say what you want to say, what you think about politics, about society, social environmental problems. I was like, oh my God, I want that freedom. And actually France was the country where I felt most free ever in my life. So it's absolutely amazing, and I love their revolutionary spirit. I think the stereotype is absolutely true. And finally, the thing that I first mentioned in this video about berettes and the baguettes. 4.5 months that I spent in France, I've never seen a French person wearing a beret. So I guess that it can be just a stereotype, and usually it's more popular among foreigners to wear this beret when they, want to have this French look or something, or when they prepare to go to France, they buy those berets and wear them. So yeah, I haven't seen anyone, but well, if I didn't, it doesn't mean that it's not happening in France. So let me know in the comments below if you saw some people, French people wearing beret. But to talk about baguettes, oh my God, French people love pastry. And every morning, if you wake up and go outside, you will see long lines in front of bakeries, because French people go and get their pastry, like croissant, baguette, for breakfast, because they love it. And I think that baguettes and croissants, it's not a stereotype, it's true, and it happens every morning. Because the thing is that if you buy a baguette and you don't eat it like on the day when you buy it, next day it will be shit. I don't know what it's made from, most probably some simple ingredients like water, flour, etc., even no eggs, I don't know, but next day it's impossible to eat, absolutely untasty. So that's why I think they go to the bakery every morning to have fresh bread for their breakfast. And I think this habit is amazing. I love it. I try to do the same, because it just, lets you start your day in a beautiful way, I should say, and in a tasty way as well. So that was it for me, the stereotypes I could think of. If you have some more stereotypes and you want to know whether they're true or false, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have your comments about the stereotypes I've mentioned, and maybe you have a different opinion, different experience, please also share, because I think it will be useful for everyone to read different perception, different opinion. See you in the next video. Bye bye.